Well, hello there, podcast listeners. It is I, Cinematronics, and I am joined, as ever, by David Bond and Rebecca Andrews.
Hello.
Folks.
And we're gathered here today on...
Oh dear.
Are you marrying me, Becca? What's happening now?
Hold on a minute. I didn't
we're
sign up for this.
we're gathered here today on this blessed day to
It's the
enjoy
union of
another Bond film. So...
Phew.
We have just had the most depressing conversation about dead celebrities as well. But there you
on,
go.
on to another one.
Onto another one.
Yes.
My heart is heavy.
It's Roger Moore's first entry in the series. It's Live and Let Die, which we tried to record ages ago in the previous Bond run, but it just didn't work.
It was the second brace of commentaries. So we did the sort of 60s. We went through to Diamonds. And then we did a music episode, and then we did a couple of commentaries from that era. So we did Goldfinger and we did Majesties. And then at the end of the Roger Moore era, we went to do another music episode and another couple of commentaries. And we chose Live and Let Die. And we sat and did it. And we sort of did the recording. We did it all. And I woke up in the morning just thinking, I was pissed and that was shit. So I contacted those two and said, how did that sound to you? And they were both like, so Chris,
A lot of dead air.
very...
I think it was one.
Sorry?
Of those...
I just think overall, for whatever reason, we just sadly weren't feeling it, unfortunately. So
No.
we're going to try again tonight.
And Chris, being the positive type, just went, well, let's do another one. Because I would have
Let's do
just
it
like...
again.
So we did... I said, well, we can't do that one again. We've just seen it. So we did The Spy Who Loved Me. So The Spy Who Loved Me commentary, which we did and is still a favourite of ours, and we laughed uproariously, was done the day after a failed recording of this. But if you remember at the time, Chris was working full-time, studying full-time. Becca had countless jobs, and I had no excuse but was massively inebriated, which I thought was going to make it funnier, and it didn't really work that way. So we'll have another go.
Yes, so we're gonna do Live and Let Die, and hopefully it'll be a lot more funnier this time around. It should
It can't be.
Let's try and see.
To be honest with you.
We'll come up with some fun facts along the way and debate the merits of JW when he appears.
Oh God.
JW.
He's actually now a character across social media, so we'll have to tag that particular person.
And he's great because he's deliberately clueless, and the number of people who fall for it is amazing.
It's so funny. I think whoever runs that account is amazing.
He posted a picture the other day comparing Olga Kurylenko and Eva Green, and he picked the nicest, most sexy photo of Olga Kurylenko in lingerie he could find, and put a picture of Eva Green without makeup, crying her eyes out, and probably just been beaten up in whatever that show she was on was called. And everyone fell for it. They're like, well, that's not fair. They're not even remotely the same thing. He's just a shit stirrer. It's funny.
Yeah, we'll have to give them a shout out.
Yeah, so this was the third, wasn't it, of what's his face, Goldfinger director.
This was
Guy
the
Hamilton.
third Guy Hamilton film, yeah, because he did Goldfinger and Diamonds. So, after this film, I think it's fair to say we quite like this film. It's not a favourite of mine particularly, but it's perfectly fine.
It's a favourite of quite a few others, though, isn't it?
Where did we rank it? Do we remember?
I had it out just outside the top 10. I'm not sure if I'd have it quite that high now, but I think I had it 11th or 12th, something like that. Yeah, about 11th. Chris had it... You had it exactly the same as me, Becca. I remember that.
Yeah, I think I had it just outside, didn't
because we there were a couple where... Because our rankings were quite different, but there'd be the odd one where we'd be in exactly the same place, and I think Live and Let Die was one.
you and Chris were quite in sync, but
Yeah,
I was way out there.
I think Chris had it just inside the top 10, but I wouldn't swear to it now. So we both had it. We all had it sort of just above halfway. And I probably stand by that, although it's as I say, it's not wildly a favourite, but it is a favourite of quite a few people. I mean, Sam Mendes famously really likes it. Daniel Craig's a big fan of it. Um, I think at the end of this film, you would consider Guy Hamilton to be sort of two good, one bad.
Mm.
But then obviously he went straight on to do the man with
I
the
get
golden
confused.
gun.
Did he?
Sloppy.
Oh, I was going to say, did he do got a golden gun?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite simple. He starts the 70s and sort of Lewis Gilbert finishes them.
Mm.
So I'm not the biggest lover of the Lewis Gilbert films. I mean, even The Spy Who Loved Me, but I just think he's got a bit more flair overall, and I can see his style much more.
Mm.
And some of the sloppiness in the Guy Hamilton films isn't in his. I don't see as many errors.
No.
But that's not to say. I mean, Guy Hamilton gave us this, and he gave us Goldfinger, so I'm not going to slate him. But when he was poor, he was really poor. But yeah, so this is sort of the second of 3 in a row he did, and I do believe he was in early talks to do The Spy Who Loved Me. I do wonder if him not doing The Spy Who Loved Me had something to do with his tax status. Because if you remember, by the late 70s, or you wouldn't remember it from the time, but by the late 70s, British tax rates were extremely high, and a lot of people like John Barry were going off and being exiles. And
They probably advised to live in France for a year.
Well, Guy Hamilton, I think he did, John Barry, but Guy Hamilton, I think, was living in Italy because he was originally attached to Superman the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his tax exile status made that difficult because they wanted to shoot at Pinewood.
Yeah.
And hence they brought in, they brought in some dick. I don't know. I can't really remember what Hamilton's career is like outside of Bond. He had plenty of films on it. Did he do Battle of Britain? Can't remember.
I'm going to say yes, but no, he's got an illustrious career certainly outside of Bond.
Yeah, and he's another one who's died during the lifetime of this podcast.
We didn't do it, folks.
We didn't do it.
I remember meeting him at a signing, and he was lovely and could tell countless stories of his years behind and in front of the camera as well. And obviously, he's one of that generation who obviously came out of the war.
Yeah, he would have died around the time we were sort of in the Brosnan era. So yeah, he did Force 10 from Navarone. He did Battle of Britain. He did Funeral in Berlin, which is a Harry Palmer film.
That was it. I was trying to think. I've broken my brains. What was it?
He also did a film called An Inspector Calls, which has had sort of a life on stage as well.
Yeah, there's been so many different versions of that, haven't there?
Has that got Robert Donat in it? I'm not sure, but it's worth seeing that film.
If you can see the film or the stage show, highly recommend it.
See the stage show within the film, if you know what I mean. You can see how it would work, and there's like a little twist at the end. It's quite a thought-provoking little film. It's good. An Inspector Calls. If
you're probably of like mine or Chris's generation, then chances are you might have studied it at school.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it wasn't on any of my sort of syllabuses.
No, I don't know if they still do it today. But yeah, if you're kind of of that generation, chances are you might have read it at school. I highly recommend it.
I was busy doing crap like Shakespeare, you know.
Yeah, I think we did like, oh god, what do we do? Hamlet. We did like Othello a million times. That one inside out, upside down. But yeah, Seamus Heaney, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, back to Bond. It's a shame they didn't do that in school. It's a shame they don't teach that. All school kids these days should read Casino Royale.
What Bond? Yeah.
They should put that on the curriculum.
What age do you think it's appropriate from them to read about balls being whipped with a carpet beater and Bond's penchant for penchant for married women and stuff?
12. It's in the certificate they are.
Obviously, it shouldn't be on the curriculum because it is very age inappropriate.
I was going to say we're talking about the book here. I think.
Yeah, that's not until at least you get to university, perhaps. Yeah, it's very age inappropriate, I will say.
That used to piss me off at school when you get to the end of term, and they put like a film on for you, but like they had to be careful with the certification. So you had to watch something shit like Danny Champion of the World or something. Like fucking brilliant. Thanks.
But then obviously, it always said, this film cannot be, basically don't show it in school or, it's for home use only. And it's like, yeah, we'll just skip past that. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I thought it was quite funny.
Okay. Anyway. So, probably best to get on with this then.
Yes. So, should we count us in then?
Yes.
So,
I'm on initiate mission. Let's go.
Yeah, so on 3, I'll press play, so whatever device or medium you're watching this, you can join along if you wish, or just listen to us talk shit over a film. So, in 1, 2, and 3.
Once again, we're all on different mediums. Like, I'm on the Blu-ray, Chris is on the YouTube.
Well, I mean, there's
Dave's on the
commentaries. There's commentaries out there that you can get like associate professors and stuff on. I've met a couple of professors, so I've associated with them. That's got to count, surely.
So you're associate professor.
That pretty much counts for the same thing, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that counts. Why not?
Yeah. So Roger's first gun barrel, redone for his third entry because they changed the aspect ratio. So this is him pre-tucks and flares.
So yeah, you can tell because his flares get definitely more flared.
Yeah. Shows you how...
I might have the sound on a little bit, so let me know if you can hear it.
Shaky cam.
I had it on a bit, but I've just turned it off again. Yeah, that was our one decent, observation the first time round. Oh, it's shaking. You can actually see that's like a helicopter they're doing.
Yeah, you can see the shaky cam.
I know.
Before it was trendy.
Well, it was hardly the Bourne Supremacy, was it? That little shot we've just seen. I always think with the Brits in these things, they should just have fucking monocles in because they always look absurdly British.
They do.
It's like Austin Powers, like everyone sort of got the British got like a beefeater behind them, and
Yeah.
They've often got comb overs.
The French have onions,
yeah.
have garlic even, and a stripy top. They're all stereotypical.
Now, I'm not sure how this would work. I mean, it's death by hearing, isn't it?
Death by sound pulse. Would it be such a high frequency it would knock you out? I don't know.
I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. I don't really know what this is meant to be.
No, just
you do wonder if it's some sort of current being sent down it.
Oh, it might be like electrocution.
He's just come.
Really high pitched frequency in his pants. And nobody else bats an eyelid. They're like, oh.
Because they've all come in their pants as well, but they didn't just make such a big song and dance about it. So
no. New Orleans, listen out for the Shane Rimmer cameo in this film.
Listen out for it.
Yeah, he doesn't appear on screen, does he? It's just his voice in this
Who does he voice?
scene.
I didn't know. Who did he voice?
This character.
Did
so
he?
is the guy who gets killed? Yeah, he's overdubbed by Shane Rimmer.
Right, I didn't know that.
Oh, fun fact.
Shane
Right,
Rimmer's
can you
in
hear
lots
the
of
sound?
things.
Can you hear the sound? Can you hear my sound now? I've just turned it up a touch.
No.
Let me know if you do, because I don't want it all over the recording. So I can hear it a little bit now. Only because I want to hear.
When the guy goes, whose funeral is
I
it?
want to hear this voice. That's why I've gone quiet, because I can't exactly remember. Okay, yeah, that sounds like Shane Rimmer. But there's a reason for that, it is.
That's because it is Shane Rimmer.
Yeah.
Yep, fun fact. Scott Tracy himself.
I've been to New Orleans and I wandered around trying to work out which street that was, and I couldn't.
Oh, cool. Okay. If you go to onthetracksofw007.com, I'm sure he will tell you.
Well, I was walking down one street because it made me laugh because there was like various different streets, obviously, and I went down one of them, and one was definitely a bit more sort of touristy and party than others. Like suddenly you go past bars and Premiership football was playing at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and then there was a strip club, and I saw some overweight gentlemen in shorts having an argument with the bouncer outside, and I leaned in slightly, British accents. I thought, of course it fucking is.
Oh no.
Just absolute Brits on tour, just that street.
Oh, cringe.
San Monique, fictional, of course.
Yes, fictional island in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Very much along the lines of Timothy.
Obviously, that was on ITV over the weekend, and that did make me laugh.
Yeah. Well, I've got Living Daylights next in my run, so.
Oh, exciting!
In fact, I'm a day or two late with that, so license is like this week sometime.
Coming soon.
This is a terrible effect.
What, the rubber snake?
Yeah.
I'm not keen.
Couldn't they have him like biting with an otter? No, sorry.
Not a sexy otter, no.
Sorry, from Dusk Till Dawn.
I was lucky enough to go to the Live and Let Die event at Pinewood a few years ago and got to meet I have to look up his name, apologies, but the guy who plays the tribal leader. Again, very lovely man. Stories for days. But he's really like enthusiastic about it. He's, oh yeah, I had to do this and that, and
it was a real snake. A nipple.
I was just about to say that.
Oops. That's the amazing thing about Blu-ray. You tend to notice these things. You wouldn't.
Becca still can't grasp that Blu-ray is lower resolution than cinemas. Still, gets the job done.
It does. I don't think I've seen this one on the big screen.
I can't remember.
One of a few that I still haven't seen.
What they were doing about 4 years ago, they were doing doubles, weren't they? And I can't remember. No, Roger's double was. What was Roger's double?
I went to see one where it was Majesty's and then Golden Gun, and then
that was when Christopher.
That's when Christopher Lee passed away, yeah. And then when we did the back-to-back one at the Prince Charles, that was Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, it may not be my favourite Roger Moore film, but like if I had to program for like a mass audience, you'd pick Spy Who Loved Me for him. Of course you would.
It'd probably be like the most popular one, wouldn't you? I think.
And this would probably be your second choice because most people pick one of them as their favourite Roger Moore film. Chris and I disagree.
Yeah, we go for like whatever the film that everyone finds boring.
Yeah.
Special effects by Derek Meddings, who obviously also worked on Thunderbirds and a number of other Jerry.
What do you mean those tits are miniatures?
Boobs by Derek Meddings.
Boobs by Derek Meddings. It's all right. If you like them correctly, they'll look double D.
What's this girl doing? I know she's supposed to be dancing.
Yeah, and then she's like, no.
She's waving at birds, I think. Hello.
Hello, dear. How are you?
And I tell you what, they said how it could have been Diana Ross playing Solitaire. Doesn't she remind you of Diana Ross?
Yeah.
She does a little bit. She looks very deadly.
Actually, she just looks a bit bored, to be honest.
She looks very serious. This is my serious face.
But yeah. It probably is one of the less Bond feeling of the Bond films because America and the drugs and the blaxploitation bit and all the rest of it. But
the voodoo and stuff like that. It's the only one that has that goes into a bit more
sort of flavour of it, yeah. Mm. I suppose considering like the original book, there's a big sort of like gangster flavour about it, sort of like smuggling and things like that as well, with a little bit of the occult and supernatural. But this kind of has it in spades, and I think it's probably the only film.
I wonder how many. I'm sorry to be crude, but no, I'm not sorry to be crude at all. What the fuck am I talking about? Don't mind at all. I'm just wondering how many like diehard Bond fans of a certain age have met Madeline Smith at Bond Stars events now and like been slightly guilty they've knocked one out to her. She's very young here, actually.
She was. This is probably one of her first on-screen roles, isn't it? I think so. Again, she's very lovely. I've met her at various Cue the Music concerts.
Yeah, Bond's pad's pretty nice, though, isn't it?
It is. I don't know where this is meant to be because traditionally he's got a flat in Chelsea.
Yeah, this is his probably country getaway.
Yeah.
Is this the second? How many times have we seen Bond's home? Obviously, once in
Doctor No.
And Doctor No, and then this one,
Becca.
and then. Oh yeah. I was thinking, 3 times.
Yeah.
Insomnia's instructions.
This is his first performance as M after his wife died in that fire.
Yeah,
so by this point, Bernard Lee was very troubled. I don't know that he's drunk here necessarily. I don't know because he did clean up for a little while, but.
No, he had several problems, didn't he? Bless him.
Yeah, well, he had an alcohol problem. But yeah, what happened to his wife? They had a very devoted marriage, apparently, and she died in a house fire. And he, I think he may have even got hurt trying to rescue her. So one of those things where you're trying to rescue someone in vain and can't.
No, it did.
And I have a feeling that was early 72 or late 71. So mere months ahead of this. There are a few traits about Roger's Bond I don't like, and this sort of smart ass element is probably one of the chief. The smarm is the worst thing. I
It is a
don't
bit
look
smarmy.
I don't look at Roger Moore and see
That
smooth
coffee
lady
looks
killer.
horrible.
It really does.
I look at his Bond and just see like smarmy and sex obsessed. I think there are personal reasons in my own sort of life and history for that.
He's meant to be a bit of a know-it-all, though, isn't he? So he's
But
kind
the
of got all the latest
know-it-all
gadgets
element,
and
it gets on my tits, and this whole making a coffee bit is like, look what a smart ass I am, because I've got
it's probably like one of the latest gadgets on the market. So they're right, okay, it's got to be up and coming. So we'll give Bond one. I just think our kitchen is terrible. Obviously I'm not interior designer, but I just think it's, oh my god. I probably wouldn't like a kitchen like that.
I mean, watching this actually makes me kind of appreciate the Spectre just a little bit more, because when we do see Bond's place, it's kind of just right how it should be, just like a
it's
flat
very
somewhere,
sparse, isn't it?
It's a flat in central London, which is a stretch in itself. But if you assume that like that's possible, then it wouldn't be anything that grand. He's just got an upstairs flat, and Bond is not at home that often. He doesn't make that much of a home of it.
Yeah.
Having said that, in the book, he's got a housekeeper, so you can imagine his home is probably a little bit more of a woman's touch on it.
It's interesting that we don't see her in the films. That just occurred to me.
I've forgotten her name. She's a Scottish lady. What's she called in the books?
Oh god.
She's replaced by like a daughter or family member in the later ones.
Oh, what's her name?
Or might even be continuation. I don't know.
Oh, bugger, what's her name?
Old Scottish lady is his. I need to go to the James Bond wiki.
Yeah, we need to find out what it was.
I will. I'll find it at some point. But yeah, James Bond housekeeper.
May Maxwell, that was it. I was going to say May, but that's not May.
I was going to say May, but I wasn't sure. She's relatively elderly, which makes sense because he tries to bang them if they're young. And that is a trait in the books. He's like quite a womanizer, and he's easily bored, and you always get the impression half of it is just like the conquest of someone new.
Yeah, just a new experience.
But I read a book not that long ago where that May was replaced by a daughter, family member, cousin, something like that. But I've got a feeling that may have been a continuation. That may have been the that may have been Solo. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I need to go through and read them all again. Obviously, starting with the
I stalled at the end of. I read them in chronological order of story, if you like. So I read.
You're doing the timeline.
Yeah, I read the first. Oh Christ! What am I looking for? Not Trigger Mortis, the other one. Forever and a Day.
Yep.
Read that first. Read up to Goldfinger. Read Trigger Mortis. Read right up to the end. Read like Colonel Sun. Read Solo. And then I paused there, really. I started Gardner and I just wasn't feeling it. But I don't want to make that about Gardner. I think I just read an awful lot of James Bond in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want him to leave the 60s. I never want a period film. I can see why it appeals to people, but I think the series would become pastiche if you do that. A tribute act that we all want it to avoid being. Mm. But the books
they can easily slide into that.
But the books are not the same. Basically, I only really like the books that mimic like Fleming.
No, I think Horowitz has done a good job.
He's done an excellent job, because I didn't get on very well with Sebastian Faulk's book, and I actually didn't really like Colonel Sun that much, to the degree that I'd actually forgotten I'd read it.
No, it took me a while to get into it. But I think because Amos is coming from a completely different option.
The M kidnap scene and all that's brilliant, but it's Sebastian Faulk's is great. There's a couple of errors in it, like in Forever and a Day, you get him like first finding his brand of cigarettes. And then you get to a later Fleming novel, and he's been smoking them for like 20 years.
Yeah, there's a bit of kind of.
So there's a few continuity errors that the estate should have found in editing, but apart from that, it's actually brilliant.
Well, it adds a bit of flavour and variety, doesn't it? So.
Forever and a Day is actually really good, and if you were told it was a lost Fleming, I think you'd believe it. So yeah, we've just had our first look at David Hedison, our first man to play
Sanchez.
Sanchez. Passed away last year, didn't he?
I believe so, unfortunately. This is a cheery podcast, isn't it?
Well, without going into it too deeply, this is the first one we're recording after the passing of Chadwick Boseman. So we did talk about it before we started recording for a few minutes, and I think with that and Roger Moore having passed, I made the point that the first time we tried to commentate on this, Roger Moore was still alive. That's how long ago it was. He's been dead, like getting on.
It's been a few years
at this point. And we're just talking about those sorts of celebrity passings. So we weren't that morbid about it. We weren't, but obviously the Chadwick Boseman was a shock because of his age and because no one knew. And it's private, and I always respect that. But it's relatively rare a celebrity dies of like cancer and you didn't know they were unwell. I can only think of a couple. Victoria Wood, I don't think we knew was ill.
No, that was a shock.
And Alan Rickman, I think, kept it quiet as well. But normally, they're unwell. No reason we should know. I don't. He's not wrong not to have said anything, but it made it more of a surprise because he's younger than me, only by a matter of weeks, but he was younger than me. And obviously, I'm starting to knock on a bit, but I'm still too young to be dying of those sorts of things. On average, it was an absurdly young age to die at of that type of cancer. But there you go. I think David Hedison actually stands out more for the fact that he was in License to Kill as well. Because when you watch this again, he's not a massive standout in this. He's fine.
When you come to rank Felix's, whatever do you rank?
It's very difficult because now I've read all the books. I've said lots about the books over the years when I'd only read a few, but I was always open about the fact I've only read a few. But like I've just said, I've read everything that's 60s set now. I haven't read Young Bond yet, and I haven't read Gardner. I've read a couple of Bensons, but that was a long time ago. But I've read the sort of original genesis of the characters, and Felix is obviously now very different in my head. But if you take all that out of it and just go ally for Bond, he would be high up the list. I like him.
No, he's quite good, I think.
I like him a lot.
I think I'd probably put Jeffrey Wright number 1, and then David Hedison number 2.
The problem is with
we've had a lot less of Jeffrey Wright than you would think, really.
We have, but he's
in terms of screen time.
He's made an impact, definitely.
Yeah.
I think the problem. I don't know what Felix is like in the books, not at least not first hand, but he seems like a solid choice to get actual vibe right. But the problem with Felix Leiter is they never stuck. There's not been one actor, and he's never been on screen long enough to really make that much of a stamp on it. So,
no, that's it. Because it's the same as similar with Bond is always changing all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like you put him in as some kind of idea that you just to signal to the audience that you're somewhat going back towards Fleming.
Yeah, it's kind of a little callback, isn't it? So.
He wasn't in much of the Roger Moore era, but then as soon as they brought like Dalton in, he's in both Dalton films, and then he's not in Brosnan, who I don't consider very Fleming-esque at all.
Well, they had random John Terry, didn't they? And
but John Terry weren't great, but Felix was in both films.
Yeah.
And then you bring Daniel Craig in, go back to the only, the literary source, and bring in Felix again. Well, I suppose that makes sense because Felix is a character in that story. I think we spoke about this in review, that it takes a little bit of discipline to watch this film and not think of later Roger Moore and the smarmiest elements of him and when he's wildly too old. Because, I used to watch him as a younger man and think, this bloke's meant to be a fanny magnet. He's meant to have women all over him. And I just don't believe it. He looks like a fucking granddad. And when you go back to this...
You discover why he's so charming.
No, you can see it. He's young and charming. He's not as good looking as he was when he played the Saint. But
he aged okay.
But he still looks pretty good at this stage.
Like a fine wine.
But he just aged. That's part of the reason when people talk about casting somebody, whoever it might be, and I say they'll be too old, they'll come back with, well, Roger Moore was nearly 46. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, they knocked him out every 2 years, and Roger Moore was too old by about his third or
Pierce
fourth.
Brosnan was 43 or something, or 42 when he
Yeah,
made
and
Goldeneye.
Brosnan looked too old by Die Another Day. He certainly did on the big screen anyway.
He looked quite
It,
smart though. I would probably
it, it,
argue
it depends on the actor. On the big screen, he looked too old. His
it
neck
really
started to
does.
look haggard. I think part of it was Brosnan was a smoker, and it ages your skin. Daniel's never looked that young in a strange kind of way. So in some respects, it doesn't matter as much. Um,
But even
so
then,
yeah, when
even then, you could tell Craig's getting on.
yes, he can. Although strangely, a lot of it does seem linked to whatever his fitness level is, because you see him between Bond films and you think he's looking too old now, and then you see him in shape for the film, and you're like, oh,
You
hang
think,
on,
oh,
no,
actually, it
he's
looks
right.
alright. Excuse me. Drinking my cup of tea. But I think, as long as, I don't know, they kind of have that Fleming vibe, I guess. And as long as they can do it kind of, with charm and
Yeah.
have that kind of edge, then
I've got no issue with this film, with his performance in this film or his look in this film, and I'm quite forgiving now of the fact that he's not that good at action, but they're accentuating different things about him.
why don't you
And
just get a stuntman to do it?
well, something about him wandering around in New York dressed immaculately actually sort of almost compensates in that, like, well, you wouldn't
No,
expect him to be too down and gritty, would you? He's a gentleman in New York.
exactly.
Um,
Is it
What,
Alien
what,
in New York?
how do you feel about Bond in like New York or some sort
I
of?
don't generally like him in America. I don't in the books very much either.
He hasn't been there that often.
Well, let's
Well,
run through.
he's
When's
been
he
there
been?
quite a few times, but
Well,
it's
let's
still
run through. When's he been in America? In the was Connery was there in Goldfinger, Miami, early on,
in Kentucky as well.
and Kentucky, and then
Well, Pinewood.
well, yes, we know that, but it's
And then
set
in
there.
Diamonds in Vegas.
Diamond, Diamonds, Vegas. That really didn't suit this one. Then what? South America and Moonraker, isn't it? View to a Kill,
Yep,
West Coast.
San Francisco.
Um, he was in the Florida Keys in License to Kill.
Yep, Miami.
Did Brosnan ever go to the United States? I don't remember. I don't think he did he? Think of him as very Europe based.
Yeah,
Well, it was Russia.
Well, GoldenEye was like the UK, Russia,
and South America again.
and South America. Yeah, like Tomorrow Never Dies is kind of very European based.
Very European, Asia.
And then
Those
the third,
Iceland.
the World Is Not Enough's got like Baku and places like that.
Yeah, it's very Central Europe.
Craig was briefly in Miami, but just at the airport.
Yeah.
I know. Again, forget where it was actually filmed. I'm just talking about where it was set. So that's almost like not really. There's not big
So a
sections.
smattering.
The next one was Haiti and Bolivia. Skyfall was just London, 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 Scotland.
Scotland.
And Spectre was London, 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 London.
Bit of Hong Kong
Mexico.
in Skyfall, and
Yeah. I thought I mean, again, they didn't go to Hong Kong, but yes. So yeah, there's been a few. On that logic, Sean's been there more than most. Sean and Roger. The books that are set in the US, I'm not wildly in love with. Although I liked Goldfinger more than most, the book, because a lot of people rank it as like one of the not better ones, and I quite liked the book. But I mean, I really didn't like Diamonds Off. I mean, when I'd read about half of Fleming, which was the case for a few years, I really felt like they alternated. Like his first book was great, and then I really didn't like Live and Let Die. A lot of that is I'm reading it in the modern age, and it reads very racist now. It just does. And people will say, "Oh, well, it's of its time," and it's like, fine, that's fine. I've got no criticism with people liking it. I just struggled with it. And then, like, it's followed with Moonraker, which is brilliant, and then that's followed with Diamonds Are Forever, which I didn't like. And it sort of went on like that. Then you've got, I think it's From Russia with Love next, which I like. Then it was Doctor No, which I didn't, and it was Goldfinger, which I did, and it just went on a bit like that. I liked quite a few of the short stories in the anthologies. Like, I really liked the Quantum of Solace story. That's the story about the married woman, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really like that story. And From a View to a Kill's a good story as well.
And it's quite claustrophobic as well, actually, when you drill down into it.
The Hildebrand rarity is Milton Crescent and the fish, isn't it?
That's quite interesting because that kind of goes into like snorkeling, and you can tell Fleming's love for the ocean.
Yeah. And Bond, the implication is Bond turns a blind eye to a murder at the end of that.
Yeah, it's kind of ones you sort of read and you think, oh, it makes it difficult reading.
I thought it was perfectly fine in context of the story.
Oh, no,
but
definitely.
Yeah, Quantum of Solace, he's just listening to a story. Then you've got like...
Yes, it seems like from the outset it's quite boring because he's actually kind of listened to it secondhand, but when you get into it, it's actually quite fascinating.
It's great, I love it. And The Spy Who Loved Me is written from a female perspective. It's voiced by the audiobook's done by Rosamund Pike. Sorry.
You don't see Bond until like 3/4 of the way in.
Yeah.
I wonder if she realised she's actually bought James Bond's branded own tarot cards.
That is ridiculous, isn't it?
I think that's really weird how they say 007 on the back. That is so weird.
Yeah. And of course, that makeup on Mr. Big doesn't look right now, but
No.
I suppose it could have been Burns or anything, couldn't it? I suppose.
Although I do love his line.
Does he look taller as well? Though?
Really?
He looks like he's like on like platforms.
It's probably got lifts.
What percentage of this is her real voice? Do you know, Becca? Because I've heard Nikki Van der Zyl did some of this.
I think.
But it always says some of it, like she didn't do it all.
No, I don't actually know the percentage, but I know Van der Zyl, did dub a bit of a chunk. But yeah, I don't have those figures, unfortunately. I shall endeavour to find out and try to reveal them during the course of the show.
I just wonder if you knew, because like your trivia on Bond's a bit better than mine.
Yeah, I think I actually search my brain.
Yeah, I mean, not wildly. We're all reasonably knowledgeable, but like you know a little bit more than me. You've read all of the books. You've read them multiple times. I've read the ones I've talked about once or twice each. You've been to more events. You're a bit more in the community than me, so
just trying to find out.
You just hold a little bit more in your mind than I do.
Keep your hands off Honky.
You couldn't write. You could not.
Some of the language, you just think, oh god.
Yeah,
but it was the time.
I mean, is Jive Turkey mentioned in this film? I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it will be. You know,
there's the Roger Moore, swing. Ooh.
Drop it.
That score there goes a bit Batman 66.
It's just a little bit.
Batman. Whilst an American man stands heroically.
Oh, let's do it.
That's actually a good line. Where were you when I did
Where
need
were
you?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really blend in, does he?
No.
But he's fine at this point, you know? I mean, I do find his seduction of Solitaire a bit fucking creepy. But then
he doesn't seem too old here, but
as beautiful as she is very young, isn't she, Jane Seymour? There, she's a beautiful woman, Jane Seymour. She's aged very well as well.
But the character comes off as obviously she's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. She looks decades older, but for a woman who's now, she must be pushing 70 by now. She looks great, but. Roger, they never, with the exception of maybe like a Maud Adams, they paid insufficient attention to the age of the women they were putting opposite him. I know he looks fairly good for his age, but the fact is he does look too old for Jane Seymour. The card thing is just creepy. And as it goes on through his run in the series, it's not that Bond screws around. That's quintessential to the character. It's in the books. It's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with him. I'm fine with him being seductive. I'm fine with him sort of loving him and leaving him. All of that. It's the fact that with Roger, I always felt that like the character's written as though he's trying to engineer every single conversation around to sex when he's with a woman, and it's like even by Bond standards, I'd watch it and think, don't you think of anything else? Whereas like he's better when you just have him played as like just a red-blooded single male who'll take it if it's there, and he's popular with women. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. So I just, giggled at Baron Sounded there.
I just thought my observation was that amusing.
Mrs. Bond? Oh dear.
Mrs. Bond? Oh, wait a minute.
Mrs. Bond.
Right.
Look at his face.
Thank you, not Elaine Robidoux.
I just noticed Roger Moore's slight blonde highlight at the front.
Has he got a blind highlight at the front?
Literally one lock of hair.
His hair is lighter at this point. I suspect he's not dyeing it by this point, because it goes a bit more sort of reddish as it goes along.
You might be ginger, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, we never see his pubes, so we can't confirm if collars and cuffs match.
This spider guy is a bit freaking me out.
I don't know what about that's entertaining. I can't wait to see some guy walk.
It's amazing that the body can
it's
move in those
impressive,
ways, but
yeah.
a bit creepy.
Is Jeffrey Holder gone? He has, hasn't he? He died.
He has, yeah. He designed the costumes and also did all the choreography for the fight scenes and the dance scenes.
Cool.
Legend. I think there's somewhere on the 007 website there may be footage, like behind the scenes footage of him choreographing the various dance scenes, and it's like a very, very short clip. I think it had some involvement on the music as well, so anything maybe creative to do with this film he has generally had a part in. So yeah, fantastic.
They've done a fairly good job here, because in its beats it's often pointed out how like Dr. No it actually is, but they've just the whole stylings of him and it's just different. His suits don't look the same, his coats don't look the same. They've had him like smoke cigars instead.
Yeah, they try to mark him as different, doesn't he, from Connery?
That's wise. He wouldn't have been. I mean, he often used to say, didn't he? I was worried I'd open my mouth and it would come out as Bond, James Bond.
Yes.
And I think he wanted to mark out a different territory.
Mm.
And it's the wisest thing he could have done. I mean, everything I'm ever talking about with him is personal opinion. I think objectively he's not very Fleming-esque, but neither are, not all of the Bonds are, and that's not always a bad thing. I mean, he's still an iconic interpretation, and I never have any complaints with people who have him as a favourite. Not at all.
Just look at the 70s, like...
Oh my god.
What? Can you imagine going into like fucking DFS or something and going, that's my baby, that's the one I want.
I love that one, please.
Can I have the one that looks like I've spilt custard haphazardly over it, please?
Yeah, and look at it matches the curtains as well.
Does the curtains
I think
match the
that's
drapes?
amazing.
Sorry.
That was a collars and cuff match. Oh dear. Is that something that's good or bad? It's like, it's one of those things where, like, if you're watching like a period film or a film that was made before the modern era, and you're immediately noticing like decor and things like that, is that something that's, because it takes you out of the film? Is that good or bad? I don't know.
What do you mean? Are you asking, does period decor that we never have now bother me? No, but I think Roger's a little bit unfortunate just through timing, because the 60s just have a classic feel to them that just never seems to go out of fashion.
Or the 70s was a entire style, I forgot.
Yeah, the 70s and 80s. I mean, I used to joke it's because colour TVs weren't in... I used to joke it's because the world was black and white until the 70s.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
So they haven't learned colours yet, so everything's so ill-matched because they're just not used to it.
Well, that's probably why. I mean, I'm sort of trying to work through... or like classic Doctor Who, for example, an endless free trial.
I saw that. How are you getting on? Sorry to go off topic, but that's what we do. Doctor Who, you've been watching the classic stuff. You've been watching it on BritBox or something.
I have, yeah. I'm doing like changing my email address many times and doing lots of free trials, which is a bit naughty.
Yes.
But yeah, so far I got up to John Pertwee. I'm
just taking the piss now at gmail.com.
Yes. Taking the piss 1, 2, and 3 at gmail.com.
You're up to John Pertwee.
Unfortunately.
Why is that unfortunate?
No,
I think the show was a bit cheaper to produce during his time because it was all like Earth-based, wasn't it?
Well, this is what I was thinking. Obviously, they're kind of getting used to it. It's a bit of a come down after going on, after being presented with lots of various fantastical worlds and various aliens, things like that, to now suddenly be stuck on Earth with being a constant prison. I've got nothing,
I've hardly seen any Hartnell or Troughton, although I've seen enough to just get a feel for what they were like. How did
I
you
highly
get
recommend
those
it,
two?
definitely.
Which one did you like more?
I don't know. Probably they've all got their own individual charm. I'm going to say for now. But my point is, like with the John Pertwee, for example, obviously now they've made a transition from black and white into colour. I'm noticing a bit more like literally all the garish colours and design
And frilly shirts and
yeah, and it's just like I can't, it's taken me away from the story a little bit.
yeah. I'd say I mean I'm not an expert on Doctor Who and I'm not wildly a fan either, but I'd say from memory of childhood, Tom Baker is the iconic of the first run of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting to his era.
I mean, the only years I was really into it and watched it was Peter Davison, but he only did it for a couple of years.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad, like with the 80s, Doctor Who obviously kind of went a bit downhill, and then I think due to, I can't remember the name of the producer at the time, but obviously sort of decided to sort of can the whole up in the late
Michael
80s.
Grade wanted rid of it.
That was it.
He put it in Room 101 when he went on it.
Oh god, yeah, no, I think I remember seeing that, definitely. But now I kind of got into it when it was rebooted in the mid-2000s, and I thought, right, well, now's the chance to go back. But yeah, I'm kind of noticing like the 60s and 70s decor and being like, oh god.
Yeah.
But
I just think Doctor Who is one of these marvels of effects and budget that it doesn't matter what budget you spend on it, it will look like children's BBC. I think it still does.
I can kind of see what you're on about now, yeah.
I never warmed to it. If you told me the concept of Doctor Who, I think, fuck, that must be amazing. And I've never warmed to it. I tried it on the reboot. I've tried hiring discs back when like it was screen select and they sent you discs and stuff. I tried a few. And I just couldn't get into it. I watched around it, like I watched An Adventure in Space and Time with David Bradley playing.
Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that again recently.
And I went to the cinema to see the 50th anniversary one and enjoyed it.
Oh, that was good fun.
So,
yeah, you can enjoy them out of context.
Yeah, but I just can't get that into it. To be honest, I've tried. But yeah, again, another one of those things. Fun fact: the Little Britain sketch where that guy's pitching board games and stuff. Got another one for you. He's called Matthew Waterhouse, and it deliberately named after the guy who played Adric during
Oh, okay.
Davison's run. Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Oh, fun fact.
So anyway, this is going to set. This sets a terrible precedent for the women of Roger Moore's era because they're simpering idiots almost all the way through. And again, it adds to the effect. It's not Roger's fault because he doesn't write the script, nor does he cast them. But they tend too young, and they tend to be like idiots. He tends to treat them like idiots, and all he's ever trying to do is fuck.
I kind of feel a bit sorry for Rosie, for this character, just because she's kind of obviously playing a dual role. She's, spoiler alert, not really a CIA agent, just a stooge for Mr. Big.
But you think they'd send someone a bit more competent, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
I mean, you would think there's obviously a weight of experience in how long you do a job, and in a physical job like a field agent, I suppose there must be a sweet spot between age and experience, which is why I think Bond's always like on the screen anyway in his 40s. You know, in the book he's 35 or 37 or whatever it is. He doesn't really age in the books, Chris. The books run over like a 10-12 year period, but he stays the same age. The books only really lightly address it, but he's like 35, 37, somewhere in that range. And the mandatory retirement age is like 45 for that type of agent. But obviously aging is different these days. So, you know, up to early 50s kind of makes a sense to me. But the point I'm trying to make is that you think, yes, all right, she might be inexperienced, but you'd think there'd be a degree of competence with basic training, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would imagine so. How do you do basic training if you're a Bond villain henchperson?
Roger going double denim.
I don't know what.
And string vest.
Can you imagine Sean Connery in that?
Well, he did wear that towel suit.
Yeah, but that was just grab whatever was there, and that was a mistake as well. To be fair. All right.
I wonder.
Let's go the other way. Can you imagine Dalton in that?
No, you can't. I wonder if that kind of fishnet sort of thing was popular in the 70s.
I mean, Dalton was all just like, you know, bomber jackets and shit, wasn't he?
He was very 80s. What books can we buy? Oh, not a lot.
Yes, he was. The leather jacket he wore in the Living Daylights were just what leather jackets looked like in the 80s and through some of the 90s. The Dalton films, considering they're the 80s, I think they've dated quite well.
Mm.
I mean, there's some, weird T-shirts and stuff like that in the second one, but it's not dated too badly. Now,
His booth hairdo.
Now, this is Quarrel Jr., the obvious point being Live and Let Die is before Dr. No in the books.
Yeah, it's a call out to that.
So it's actually Quarrel in the book, and then he dies in Dr. No. But obviously, we've already had Dr. No where Quarrel died, so this is now Quarrel
So
Jr.
this is where we have Quarrel Jr., definitely.
Yeah.
Going back to Nikki Fantazel, I can't find a percentage. It just says partially dubbed.
I don't think I expected a percentage. I just meant like a rough feel for what.
Yeah, I was just trying to find out. I've lost the hive mind, sadly. Partially dubbed is the word.
Absolutely amazed.
Shocked horror.
What she's meant to be CIA, and she's actually shocked the fact that
she doesn't even have. I mean, I've never met a CIA agent to my knowledge, but she doesn't have the bearing you'd imagine of an agent. It's nothing. It's not even her age.
No, maybe
you must have
makes...
it. You must have ingenues in every fucking field. Unless there's a mandatory minimum age, then you probably do get prodigies who are a bit younger or whatever. But she just looks like she's never held a fucking gun.
Maybe that's why, though, and that's probably why Bond spots her out, more easily.
I mean, look, I'm going to kind of slightly retract what I say now, but that's probably her character, and she probably just put there, by my Mr. Big.
Can't
because
remember.
and basically,
but yeah, maybe she's meant to be like that. I don't
basically,
know.
she's just scared for her life.
Is she in the book? I can't remember, Becca. I don't think she is.
Rosie, I think.
I read the books within the last 6 or 7 months, but I don't know if I skipped Live and Let Die or just grudgingly read it really quickly. And I was caning through them quite fast, so they do kind of blend into one. I don't remember the story but very well. There's no.
I'm kind of glad that David's doing the doing his Bond challenge, Fleming reading challenge, because I remember sort of read all the books squished into the beginning of last year. And so it's kind of good going through them again, but proper poring over them, and
I think that'll be our content. I think that'll be our content when the film's finished. To be honest, I think we ought to.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to do that.
And Chris can either read along or not read them, and we'll talk to Chris about them. Whichever.
We can force them upon you, Chris.
Well, no, I'm not going to force them on anyone.
No, we're not going to do that, obviously.
The only thing I will say is, if you're half interested, they're short. They have the average Fleming Bond book's about 250 pages.
Yeah, and they do whiz along quite quickly.
He's very good at pacing. Very good at pacing. I stand by some of the negative things I said about Fleming, but at the same time, I think I was a bit too dismissive of him. Having read them all now, he has some very strong gifts. He's very good at scene setting without giving ridiculous detail. He's not flowery in his prose. You don't get ridiculously flowery descriptions of a sunset or something. But he does set. He's very good at describing action. He's very good at describing things he's interested in. He's very good at describing food and drink, isn't he?
He is, definitely. I think that's where he puts a lot of himself in Bond, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he does.
He's very much kind of living hard and playing hard, working hard and playing hard. And also in things like the cigarettes that he smokes and the alcohol that he drinks and the food that he eats. There's a lot of himself reflected in the character of Bond, but just dialed up to 11,
Yeah. And his pacing's excellent, and I can't think of an author who finishes a book better. In that, it was quite easy to cane through them because you finish one book wanting the next. I mean, Casino Royale's the best example. Last 20 odd pages of that, you'll immediately pick up the next one.
They are literally page turners. I mean, I think the only probably other. I could probably name about 2 or 3 other authors that I've read that literally like James Patterson, for example. I know that's a really bad example because his chapters are a page each. But literally, that's another definition of a page turner, literally. For me, anyway. And also Richard James. I can highly recommend his books.
I've seen you promote them before.
But that's a different. That's Victoriana, so that's a different subject. But again, really short chapters, but quite.
It's just the period detail. His cars and things like that. I'm not into cars at all, but there's a loving way that Fleming describes Bond's enthusiasm for it and stuff like that, and you just feel like you're almost in the era.
Yeah, it transports you, doesn't it? I think.
Literary Bond belongs in the 50s and 60s for me.
Very much so. Let's have a look.
I do wonder if he's noticed that. Oh yeah, it kind of says 007 on the back of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of like used as like the new cover of the film, isn't it? If you especially when you go on to streaming, like on demand.
Are you in a different place to us, Chris? He's got a gun pointed at Rosie, and Rosie's screaming. Are you somewhere else?
Yeah, no, that's there. The cover is him pointing the gun at Rosie, like while being like
okay.
While being topless. And it's not the one you think of, really.
No, it's not. She's done doing everything asked of her. It's just the way characters are written.
Well, I think a character's just scared. She's put in a situation which is
there's only a couple of Bond women who are bad because of the actress as well as the character, if you like. Because Britt Ekland really didn't do anything wrong. It was the way they wrote the character.
I think Gloria Hunter's really good though. She's a brilliant actress, I think, and she kind of plays it convincingly, if that makes sense. Kind of in terms of her character, you just think, she's a bit useless, but there's kind of like hidden depth, I guess. And she does it in a really convincing way, I think.
They definitely went young with Solitaire, but I can't see a way around it if you want to play her as like virginal and stuff.
But yeah, that was meant to be It took me a little while to figure out. Oh, okay.
It means she's not had knob.
Oh dear. But also, because I think that's kind of how Bond manages to get her away from Mr. Big, is like just literally doing it and then sorry.
That's very brave of him.
And also she just loses her power, and it's just like, oh. But then
you never see him having to like bomb some fella, do you, to like get the mission done?
Well, in Skyfall we nearly saw that, didn't we? So,
well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
I think it's my first time.
Theoretically, there should be more of that, shouldn't there? I'm not saying I want to see it particularly, but if they were really going for it, it would be like, well, yeah, occasionally you'd have to do some fucking dude.
Well, it's one of those age-old debates, isn't it? It's like, would you ever want to see that in a Bond film? So, anyway,
it's not the character as written. I can't imagine Fleming putting it in.
Excuse my squeaky chair, everybody.
He'll probably get complaints nowadays anyway.
About a squeaky chair?
No. I mean, like, it'll just be like, oh well, Bond, Bond pretending to be gay to to hit on someone. It would just probably get some sort of complaints just from doing that. Because I remember this is like back in the late 90s with like do you remember that film called The Jackal? With Bruce
the
Willis?
90s version, not Jay of the Jackal.
Yeah,
the one where he's got blonde hair in that, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well,
still not sure if I've seen it.
I rember like stuff like,
I don't think I have.
Because Bruce Willis did that. He kind of like he pretended to be gay, and sort of like got into like this like just random gay person's life just for cover, and then just killed him, just so he can like sort of get into his house and things like that. And yeah, I remember like sort of stuff right now like that was like insensitive at the time, and that was then. Yeah, so I imagine.
I don't have an opinion on it beyond that it's amazing how many women he has to fuck for a mission, but it's only ever like fit women. He never has to do an absolute fucking moose who's 60. What in reality he'd have to do a bunt or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, needs must. It's
for king and country.
For king and country.
Yeah.
Or possibly something less patriotic, like Eddie Hole's goal. But no,
as he wipes his mouth.
He has to do like fit women who are like 20 something.
Well, there was a big today over an Inspector over like her age, but obviously she's still a very, very beautiful woman. But it's like, well, that, it shouldn't really matter. It's just like, but, and again, and there are those people who kind of say, well, the formula is that you should have like 3 different types of Bond girl in inverted commas, and Bond should have to go through all these to kind of to reach the goal, as it were. And it's like, well, again, that's not really relevant. But oh well, you never know. In the next film, you don't know.
Now, I must say, Solitaire is actually talking shit there.
Why? What did she say?
She says, like, the cards tell you nothing to those you can't see. It's like, well,
actually, that's a load of rubbish.
Well, I mean, for those who...
Well, the cards still have meanings.
Yeah, because, like...
If you believe in tarot, you could learn to do tarot, for example.
But you might not be psychic, you won't hear anything else, but you can learn to read the cards. It still works. It still sort of tells you theoretically, whether you believe that stuff or not. It's still like your energy, so to speak, to deal them out, and the cards will tell you what it is they want to tell you. But you can still read the cards. You can learn if you learn how to read the cards, you can. But things with psychics and that, they can hear other things and be more detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So
yeah, you can interpret them in sort of various different ways, I guess.
Yeah. But if you know the meanings and know how to read them, you go like, okay, well, that becomes that came before this, so that probably means more this. But
fun fact.
I only know that because my sister's a medium, so she
oh
does
wow,
that stuff.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Oh, very cool.
Well, at least she hasn't let herself go and become a large or something. Well done for keeping yourself in shape. I know you're a bit older than Chris.
Cheeky.
Well, he is. Chris was the sort of mistake years later. Chris
very nice.
Chris was the oh shit, I'm not having fucking eggnog again.
and it's not true that having sex makes you lose your psychic abilities.
She's still psychic. Oh yeah. Not due to unforeseen circumstances.
What if he'd taken her up the arse?
Well, that's a valid question.
It is a valid question.
Didn't lose it.
What the film does
all
have
she
the
did
balls to address, Chris.
What if all she did was just give her a blowjob? Like,
exactly what would happen then?
It's simply just kissing like that. Like,
yeah. How far would you have to go?
And what if he just stuck the tip in?
Just the tip. Phrasing.
What if he was about to
what
answer?
If she was blind
the tip
drunk?
in, and then the phone goes, and he decides he has to answer it, and he's called away on active duty.
What if she was blind drunk and she had no recollection of it whatsoever?
What if he actually shags her, but he's either wearing a condom, or he pulls out and whacks off over her tits? Answer that, Guy Hamilton and Eon.
Yeah. Have to look at you. Sort this out.
Because is it the physical motion that's doing it?
I just thought of a response to, well, actually, that's what Mr. Big did every weekend. Or something like that.
I just whacked off over her tits to keep her. Yeah. If Jane Seymour, if you're listening, write to us and expect us to talk at gmail.com. Yeah, so I think we've just poked holes, so to speak, in
very
that
big cut holes
storyline.
So, is there actually any supernatural stuff that actually happens in here?
Well, Baron Samedi's still alive at the end, isn't he? On the back of the train. What the fuck's that about?
Well,
yeah, he's the man who cannot die.
Yeah, but we don't really see him die, though, do we? He just... he falls into, like...
He falls into a pit of snakes, and then doesn't he have... He comes back again, and then he has, like, his head blown off or something?
Yeah.
That was a mannequin, though, wasn't it?
I was going to say, this is it, or was it? Question mark.
Well, it was Kim Cattrall.
She's the woman who cannot die. I was on TV the other day.
What, Mannequin?
Hmm.
I made the mistake of watching Mannequin on the move once. Fuck me, was that annoying.
Oh, was that the sequel?
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, the really camp character in Mannequin, which I've not seen for 25 years, so I can't remember, is got a bigger role in the second film, and it's just so over the top. It's awful.
I don't think it's. I've never seen either film, but I've recorded the first one, especially at 80s nostalgia.
I've only seen it once, you know. That was ages ago.
Probably in the 80s, no.
Yeah, that I was probably still at school when it was like
I,
probably
I
it just
don't.
came
Fa-
on
I,
TV.
don't, I don't know about you, but I don't fancy mannequins.
I mean, that film could only exist in the 80s, though, couldn't it? You couldn't.
You couldn't make it now.
No, you couldn't
See,
make
now,
it.
I'm led to. Sorry, back on the film. I'm led to believe for a lady losing your virginity can be. I'm not going to ask questions, Becca. Don't worry. I'm led to believe it can be quite unpleasant or uncomfortable and not like the best experience you'll ever have. Roger's in her once and she's begging for more.
It's very smooth.
I mean, what a talent.
Well, I suppose in a way he's kind of freed her of.
Her curse.
Yeah, well, of like
To work
because she's like tied by Commando, isn't he? So Roger's kind of like, well, I'm kind of done now, so I've got no choice to kind of take a dash for freedom.
Yeah.
Here is Baron Sandry. Good morning.
It's a beautiful day.
A lot of people are freaked out by that landline. It's never really bothered me.
He sounds a bit creepy though, doesn't he? I mean, it's a pleasant greeting, but it's kind of laced, at least, with a bit of menace. But I do love this flute receiver thing. I think that's pretty cool. It's like similar to the one that Q has in. Oh God, like I said, License to Kill. I can't remember which.
It is License to Kill. He talks into a broom.
Into his broom, and he's like, "Oh, I think that's really cool." I find gadgets like that really fun. Makes me laugh. Now these are terrifying. I really do think these are terrifying.
What, these little...
Yeah, they used to freak me out a little bit.
No, I can get that.
Quite scary.
He should be wearing a fucking medallion there, shouldn't he?
He should. It's very 70s.
It is almost like a little bit horror movie-esque, really, isn't it? You're in an island surrounded by
yes.
eyes
That's
watching
rare.
you.
That's rare in the series. I think
Yeah.
there's a shot where George is in trouble, in whatever that village is called, and I'd say, where else? There was another one. It's gone right out of my head. Moonraker, where at the carnival where Jaws is there, that suddenly goes a bit sort of horror film for a few minutes.
I also think that underwater scene in For Your Eyes Only as well, where you're it's like from the point of view of somebody in the what's it called? Diving bell.
Yeah.
It's a little bit or it reminds me a little bit of Halloween almost.
Yeah.
When all you sort of hear is like, sort of like deep breathing.
Yeah. Every time I see like a helicopter in that sort of terrain, I expect to hear "Suicide is Painless."
It's a bit mash, isn't it? That's a theme tune. I got it on CD somewhere. I have to dig it out.
That's a trailer line, that. Any cost, Bond must die.
Bond must die. Yeah, epic trailers.
Yeah. In the detail, I'm not as bothered about the film as you would think. I mean, the boat chase goes on forever, and I always forget this bus chase bit.
Yeah, I completely forgot.
And I just think, like, do you shut up a bit?
It was the 70s,
Or at least wear a chest wig like Austin Powers or something.
Actually, I did think that he's quite smooth. I thought, oh.
Well, I think the combination of Connery and Brosnan, I always thought Bond is meant to have a hairy chest, so like Craig always takes me a bit by surprise as well. Put a wig on it.
Beautiful bare chest.
Just put a rug, yeah.
Just put a rug, yeah. gosh, Bumpy Road. Looks a little bit of the night bus.
The night bus.
Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
It's a rickety old Routemaster bus.
No conductor on it though.
No. Meh.
I think that would fail its MOT.
I think it probably would do now.
Oh
There's no
my
windows.
God. I've only just noticed that's like back projection. That looks
Yep.
terrible.
It's one of these things, like some amazing detail you can get on Blu-ray, like, I don't know, you might need to like Bond's knitted tie for the first time or something like that. But yeah, some of the rear projection.
Yeah, I think there is a point to what you're saying, Becca, because as much as I make fun of you over the Blu-ray thing, we grew up with these on TV and VHS. Most of these earlier ones we didn't see in cinemas. So you're right. But obviously, audiences in the very first instance saw this in at least as high a resolution.
Well, exactly, yeah. So they would probably notice it. But it's just things like, yeah, it's like if you're of that generation where you might have grown up with it on TV or parts of it edited out, you might not have had a colour TV. I don't know. Not you, specifically, either of you guys, but like one in general. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Or perhaps you might not be very observant. If like me, you might think, oh, I just noticed that for the first time. Or if you're like me, you're easily pleased.
Oh, that's music to most men's ears. When you're easily pleased, brilliant.
Not like that. Not that low.
Oh, okay.
Not that low.
Typical Bond, not paying attention to the road
The road
signs.
Traffic
signs, no.
laws.
I think he's failed his driving test. There's one of them new car boats. Wrong film, I know.
But yeah, I've always been pretty fond of Live and Let Die. His run was very, very patchy, but I mean, the best bits were very good. I mean, Brosnan would have killed for 2 or 3 of Roger Moore's better entries.
What do you think is John Barry's score? I think it's got a really catchy score.
This isn't a John Barry score.
No, I mean,
George Martin.
is what I meant. Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
it's
anyone listening, there is not a chance in hell
That's
Becca
what I meant.
didn't know that. Like, that's just not a mistake she would make. That was
No,
just
sorry.
a slip.
Yeah,
George Martin's score, I like it. I like it quite a
very
bit.
cool.
Um,
Obviously, that's why you've got Paul McCartney and Wings.
in hindsight,
it's-
I think I'm... Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, like, the idea of George Martin doing the score is actually quite a radical move, really. 'Cause it's like getting like
It is at this stage.
It's like getting David Guetta to do the Bond score for this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe David Guetta's probably a bit lame now, but do you know what I mean? Like the hip.
Yeah, he's trending at the time.
You know, I mean, I don't know. Will.i.am? I don't know. He would be like music producer or big like a big name in music to actually do like the score, but isn't actually known for doing like film scores.
Of course. No, I don't think so, anyway. I'm not that knowledgeable of George Martin. Sorry, except he was the Beatles producer. That's really all I
that's
know
like
about him.
Beatles.
A valuable piece of merchandise we're carrying.
Oh.
And I'm just going to inspect the guts.
He's done this shirt up a bit more now. He's in polite society.
Yes.
He was just finding that
You know
he was
what?
too
He always looks
sexy.
good
Made a
in
quick
black.
change.
He looks better in black. I mean, he looks significantly, to me, better in Moonraker than he does as Spy Who Loved Me, and it's because I think a lot of that film is in black. Well, it feels like that anyway. Although he does go a bit nylon safari suit a bit later on. But
Really shiny shirt. Hello, Jim.
hey, Jim, that's a bad outfit.
Looking funky, Jim.
It's like, how close is his sideburns to his mouth?
There's some epic sideburns. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This film just, I mean, like for all our jibes and everything, I think this film just looks very cool.
Yeah. There was just so much hair around in those days. Did the Earth rotate a bit slower with the weight of it all? I suppose there were less people.
With all that hairspray.
Fewer people, yeah.
Also, along with various Doctor Who reboots, obviously we're going to go through like all the like Joanne said, like I keep on going on about. But we've come up to Space 1999, and also what's the other one? UFO, which is obviously made during the 70s, but obviously set in the 80s. But again, I'm just amazed literally by all like the costumes and the hair. I just think it's fantastic, even though it's set like in the future. It's still very much like product of its time. And again, watching all these kind of episodes like the 60s and 70s of Doctor Who and all the rest of it, it's just like literally I'm just amazed by like the colours and the hair and all the rest of it. I think it's amazing.
You just wonder what occurred to them, like when they put on like a dress shirt and think it would look good if we made the front of this look like a Wall's Viennetta. It just what?
Oh, this is
Batman.
such a great scene. No.
It's not a bad score, but just the sign-offs at the end of certain motifs sound really fucking 60s Batman.
I love the scene of Mrs. Bell. It's so funny.
See, like, it should, in reality, the mission would involve him needing a shagger.
Yeah, she's no nonsense. This is a good show, Mrs. Bell.
I mean, can you imagine Daniel Craig doing this sort of thing? Playing I'm the,
He's keen to get home, isn't he?
Oh god, that was terrible.
That was kind of this. That just read like a relatively serious film that they crowbarred some lines in on a rewrite.
Must have some comedy.
Whereas the humour in Casino Royale, which people seem to not acknowledge is there. Like I say, I laughed more at Casino Royale than I did at Roger's entire run, and yet it's meant to be like serious and dour and stuff. Well, the jokes in that actually played a lot more organic. In Skyfall, which I don't have any great problems with, I'm not slating the film particularly, but the jokes stood out as like, quick, put a joke there.
Yeah, it's just, and again, it's that kind of like, almost like that 70s sitcom humour as well.
Yeah.
He's in a hurry to get home.
Yeah, it's not funny, and I just think, partly due to the Roger Moore run, and that we saw it so much in Brosnan's run, that it's almost like a badge of honour that the jokes are groaners, and I'm thinking, they didn't start meaning to be like ironically shit, so why are you writing them that way?
Yeah.
And that was my problem with Roger Moore. Everyone goes, oh, what a fun sort of Bond he is. And he is. He's light and engaging and enjoyable and everything. But if you look at the funny lines, there aren't that many. There really aren't. Not for me. The Spy Who Loved Me starts with a fucking load of them. The pre-title to The Spy Who Loved Me is just fantastic. It's got loads of them. But Octopussy with No Ma'am on with the economy tour. There's the odd one, but like I went through his entire run thinking he was a bit of a fucking clown, to be honest. And then when Brosnan was in the role, his lines were dreadful as well. And yet we keep hearing how they're the lighter, funnier Bonds. And like Craig has made me laugh more often than either of them.
He's got a very dry sense of humour, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Very...
Oh, he can't do the humour. Yes, he could. The only one who couldn't do humour was Brosnan, and I love Brosnan for different reasons.
I think Bros kind of gets saddled with a lot of like Roger style lines, but I think with Daniel Craig is very dry. I mean, I remember going to see Spectre, and I think the couch gag probably got one of the biggest lines in the film, and the biggest laughs in the film even. And he could do it. It's just like with the look or the put down. But like, lines like he's in a hurry to get home.
He's a film star. He's got that sort of charismatic look about him.
Exactly.
Whenever they gave Dalton lines, I just felt like he spat them out a bit contemptuously. He didn't like doing them.
Yeah, it kind of really wasn't up his street.
One or two, We've Nothing to Declare, did make me laugh.
Just Jaloo.
Yeah, which ruins it for me, but you like that bit, and fair enough, we're all different. I think it's a bit silly. You can't hear that line without doing that bit. Whereas I wish they'd stopped on "We've Nothing to Declare" because that was perfect.
But she's got to go. Just Jaloo.
It's like, shut up, woman.
Shut up.
You wet blanket.
Oh, Cara. She's fabulous. She's very underrated.
I just love the line where she's like, "Brilliant, we're free." And he's like, "We're middle of an airbase."
I should know based on what kind of
If
stuff.
you had footage of that scene off CCTV or something, that'd be the easiest murder ever to investigate, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? They turned straight to
Yeah,
the fucking
literally.
party right afterwards. See, Felix isn't in this very much, is he?
No.
I kind of wish we hadn't commentated on License to Kill so we could do it.
You could do it again.
I love License to Kill. I can't believe that it was like ranked flat bottom for so many years.
It's one of those things,
Well,
isn't it? It'll suddenly become more appreciated over time.
But it still isn't though by some people. Some people still kind of put it low, isn't it? Like was that Guardian
Oh god, I
poll
didn't know what they're on about.
while I think it was like last year, and like Dalton's was quite
Second.
yeah.
Different one. Well, that was misleading because they had a poll recently where Craig was at bottom. But
Oh no, I'm thinking of the same thing. I think it was like a list of all the different Bond films.
She was originally tapped to do the theme song until George Martin was like, because
Yeah.
Harry Saltzman was who's going to sing it, and it's like it's Paul McCartney, he's going to sing it. But it could have been her, and that's why she's in this film. It's sort of an apology for being hired and then shat on. She's got a nice voice as well. But sorry, yeah, the recent one they did, Craig was knocked out first and Dalton was second to Connery. But the problem is it was knockout format, and they put Craig against Connery in the first round. So of course he was going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
If you'd drawn that differently, basically anyone who went up against Connery in the first round was going to lose. And like Brosnan was third, and it's like, no, I don't. The top two I'm fine with, but it was the fact that they did it knockout in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do
if you
knockouts and then do like, oh, you came first, second, and third. It's like you can't. It's like
It doesn't work like that.
no, it's like it's like that's the winner.
Unless you kept robbing it. Sorry, until everybody's faced everybody, like a league table. That's different. That is totally unconvincing. I've just realised the one round his right arm looks fine, but the one on his left arm, you can see it's not gone very far round.
No.
So it's like, well, that's lame. Did you mess with that?
Did you mess with that?
He's
scene-
in his magician gloves as well.
I was actually thinking. No, what I was about to say was he's about to go and referee some snooker.
Oh, that's true. Just needs a top hat. My glamorous assistant will produce.
Oh no, they're actually Alan Partridge driving gloves.
Oh, are they? Yeah, you can
That
get out of those if you
that
wanted
pissed
to.
me off at the end of Spectre where he's wearing driving gloves because that's just too Alan Partridge for me.
It was a bit hidden partridge. No, was it unintentional partridge? Accidental partridge is what I'm trying to get. Ooh.
What a reveal!
It's Yaphet Kotto, who I may be friends with. I'm still not convinced it's him.
That's pretty cool though, if it is.
He claims to be younger than his stated age and stuff like that. Let me see if I've still got him there. Yeah.
There's a bit of a mystery around Tim's age as well, like regardless of the date, but he is quite mysterious.
Ooh, Tim Popple.
No, not Tim Popple. Sorry, Tim Dalton is what I'm trying to say.
Tim Dalton obviously gets
Yeah, I don't know about Tim Popple. Sorry.
When we did the first run, because he's always shown as 44 or 46, I think I went with 44 because I remember saying he was 43 on debut. I remember saying that. But more often than not, when it's his birthday now, it seems to go off the 46 date, 1946. But he's very private.
It is odd though this day and age how we actually don't know the year a certain actor was born.
No, I know. Well, how there can be debate over two different dates. You'd think at one point someone would ask.
Well, it's whether or not they want to keep it private. They don't know. It's just, I guess it depends.
I actually think he's actually a good Bond villain.
I do. He's
Yeah,
just
but
not in it as much as you
No.
would think. That's all. I remember being disappointed when we did this for review, and it's not that he's done anything wrong. It's that it's just I think he just didn't have quite the commanding effect on the film I was expecting.
The problem is, he's playing dual identities as Mr. Big, and then, he kind of while he's Commander, he's kind of very sort of he's just very sort of straight on, and it's only when it's revealed now there's a little bit of playful malice to him. He's kind of comes alive.
Yeah, no, I'd go along with that.
Yeah.
I think the alter ego doesn't help. I think the villain that gets hurt most by that sort of persona change is Christatos, because he's not a standout villain, and it's because he's playing pretty sort of decent for most of the film, and then suddenly the reveal is that Luigi has recommended the wrong man there. Well done, Ferrara.
Luigi.
No, it pays for it though.
Yeah. With a sting of a Bill Conti score.
You've left this with Ferrara.
Yes.
A really heavy pin.
The bit where he's found dead is the only bit of the score that sounds like Bill Conti to me. In that, I heard a bit of Rocky in that bit. But the rest of the score is very, very different.
I've completely lost my powers.
Can't they just scrape them off Bond's knob? They might have crusted
He's got a
over.
magical-
Just scrape them off, re-inject them.
Yeah, dip it in some water.
Yeah.
Get to drink it, it'll be fine.
It's like making a pot.
Oh,
Just dip it in a
sake.
pot noodle if you don't like the taste.
Fuck's sake. You guys, oh my god. Dirty bastards. Right.
It's almost like she's never had a knob cheese.
Can I think of a more useless henchman than Whisper? I mean,
Does the heavy lifting.
I just think, what is the point of him?
To talk quietly.
Well, he can't do that sort of thing, can he? He's, he does all the heavy lifting.
There is probably too many henchmen in this film. I think that's the problem.
Too many henchmen. He's got all these people around him. He can afford to do it.
Well, you got Teehee, you got Baron Salmon, you got Whisper, you got the guy in that jacket.
You got Solitaire.
Well,
Oh, that's a very good point actually. Other villains don't seem to they have Jaws or one or two other hench people. He has a whole party. It's not something we see very often. Or they might have other minions running their operations, but we don't really get to see them. Scaramanga has Knick Knack. I guess you might not see them very often. But yeah, that's a very good point. Sorry.
Yeah, you should apologise. The film you come out with, Becca, and Chris was talking about the film, and it's called deflection. That shirt must be a bastard to iron.
Oh, turn away. Oh,
I mean, imagine the electricity bills in that era, because, I mean, just the sheer amount of ironing, the sheer amount of, cloth.
This is it. Trying to iron that jacket. Oh my gosh.
I think we are now too late to be hitting women in films, to be honest.
Just avoid.
Well, it's not like it was acceptable in the early 60s, but it was just culturally very different. By the time we're getting into the 70s, and it's still happening.
Especially in this particular setup as well.
But if it's like the villain doing it though, if you meant to like,
kind of makes them extra despicable.
Yeah, I think there's just a part of me that thinks you write these things involuntarily. It's quite easy to avoid. It's like when George slaps Diana Rigg. It's like, well, you can see why he did it, but like, how hard is it to write around that stuff?
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't need to be.
It doesn't ruin the film in the slightest for me. It's the era it's in, and she's playing a certain way at that point, and fine. But I don't want to be all faux upset over it, because it doesn't bother me. The one that actually bothers me most is when he slaps Tatiana.
Yeah, that's a bit
Because he
pain.
really fucking thumps her.
Yeah, that's a proper smack, isn't it?
Mm. And I don't like him in the next film with Andrea Anders. The arm. That's
And I
what-
was going to say, yeah, the kind of arm. I call it the arm breaking scene. It's not really the arm breaking scene. But yeah, that
Connery
scene with
may have got away with it. It doesn't suit Roger.
I think that's why I find it so shocking, even though I've seen it hundreds of millions of times. It's still a little bit like, oh,
That's a lot of viewings, Becca.
that is. That's also not true. But, you know, many times is what I'm trying to say. And I mean, internet. So they were wearing masks before it was trendy. Right.
I mean, I love how you can just tell it's like he's just like holding on to like a hook.
Yeah, I know.
Good on the
Mind you, if they tried to CG it, his arm would just look like fucking Pac-Man or something at this stage, or Pong. Yeah. Now, this farm is where Kananga gets his name from.
Yes, Ross Kananga.
Yeah, Ross Kananga, and trespassers will be eaten as a real sign. Well, obviously,
Yeah,
it's a real
apparently.
sign because you can
You
see
can
it.
go
But I
there.
mean, it wasn't drawn up for the film. It's there.
No, it was actually a real sign at the
And I
farm.
believe there's both alligators and crocodiles here, but I'm not sure. I did a lot of reading on the difference, knowing we were going to do this film, but I did it weeks ago, so I've completely forgotten, making it a total
No,
waste of
no fun
time.
facts about crocs and alligators.
Well, I read the differences between them and how to recognise the differences, and for at least an afternoon, I was absolutely fucking expert on it.
You always
and
tell by the round nose.
It is to do with the nose, the snout, and the colouring a bit.
Uh-huh. It's not a snoot you want to boop.
But I forget which
one's
I
bigger.
think, I
Is
think
alligator
crocodiles-
smaller?
I think I might be right in saying crocodiles have a pointy nose.
Mhm.
And I think alligators might be bigger, but again, that's based on fucking a long time ago. That's a croc, I think.
That's alligators are bigger.
Fun fact, folks. See, you can learn a lot about the world around you from Bond, can't you?
See, why does Bond just wander on into that island? You'd think he'd have a bit more awareness, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you would.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, look what's
Literally
up there!
walked right into it. Literally walked right into it. He did it really slowly as well. I was like, oh.
Oh no.
It's twice as simple.
I actually quite like the fact that we think he's going to get out of this with a gadget that doesn't work.
Mm.
Oh yeah, that's true actually.
And you got the sound effects as well there.
Yeah, it's relatively. I mean, you kind of got the watch, and then you've obviously got the inflatable. What's it called? The air compression sort of pill thing. So you've kind of got a relatively gadget-free-ish
Relatively.
film. Yeah,
It's light.
and it's
on
one
it.
where Bond has to kind of use his
But of
engineering.
course, we have no cue this time.
No.
He was off doing Follyfoot.
Fun fact, folks.
He was off doing what?
Making
that
a Folly Foots of the film about young girl and a horse.
Yeah. It's like a tamer version of Animal Farm.
Which
Similar vein
version?
to Black Beauty. I
Which
think.
one?
Well,
The
this is
one,
it.
the exact one you thought I mean.
You look for a man to pick, and you can't tell them apart.
I think they made some arrangements to accommodate him, but it was too late by then. There was just misunderstandings over dates, so it's the one Desmond isn't in during his time in the role.
No, he was making another film.
So instead, you had M turn up and give him.
Yeah.
So does that mean like he would have turned up like at his house?
I have absolutely no idea what they were thinking. Why it was that time
They
of
have
the
done it in the
morning.
field. I don't
Why
know.
did he get Moneypenny out of bed to go and fucking like join him while he just said, "Go do this"? Was he sleeping with Moneypenny? Perhaps she was there and handy. Perhaps Em and Moneypenny.
Don't know.
Well, I mean, Moneypenny's not pissed off at all that M's shagging some. I mean, you think with the
He's not bothered that he isn't bothered that Bond's doing that agent, and it's probably because she's had some seedier penis.
She's moved on.
Yeah, she's been pulling rank.
Yeah, I was just about to say
I was going to say.
This poor animal.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Batman.
No.
Oh, some fear there from not Miles Bennett Dyson.
That's a Terminator 2 reference.
His Terminator work is in early research and development. He's got as far as a hook.
Now we get this speedboat chase,
which goes on too long, but it is good. But I before we did the review, I tended to have a tendency to forget how it finishes because it just goes on so long. I start tuning out. And also, we got Sheriff Pepper here, who I fucking hate.
JW.
One line I find quite funny when he spots what isn't Billy Bob, but oh no, the on whose side line is all right, but he's so fucking irritating.
Whose side?
We all have to do it.
Secret agent.
The redneck fucking sheriff was such an overdone trope in the 70s and 80s. I mean,
As
even
like
had,
sort of 70s checklist. It's like, yep.
Jackie Gleason did one as well, and he was in Superman 2, and you had him, not the Cannonball Run. You had him in the Smokey and the Bandit films. You had him in every fucking week in the Dukes of Hazzard. It was just like so tired. And I don't know how tired it was at this stage, but it certainly weren't fucking funny.
No.
I wonder how the Southerners found it. I mean,
well, it's just basically saying to the South, you're all fucking like ignorant, a bit racist, and completely officious.
The stereotype hasn't really gone away.
Well, no. No.
But yeah, it's
The
kind of
sportsman's paradise. And we cut to a very sporty gentleman. Is that meant to be tobacco inside his bottom lip?
I think that's what he's. Yeah.
I find that really off-putting.
No.
well, you sort of see the drool.
It's a bit gross. Like, yeah, it's a bit.
I've never chewed.
He spits it out as well. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very tired and worn stereotype. We just think, But there is some comedy element, and it does give us some classic lines like, "Oh, who's that?" And various other comedy lines when he reappears later on. But yeah, pros and cons to JW.
Not many pros.
No.
You got a set of wheels on you, boy.
I don't imagine he's doing particularly well. Yeah, I mean, the first thing he does is like basically bullies a black guy, which is just I do understand that there is a need to arrest black people now and again. I'm not ridiculously oversensitive to it, but it's just the film's just a little bit tone deaf. That's all. And
yeah.
This guy would do fuck all in his fitness test, would he?
No.
And it annoys me when people can't do ties up properly. Just fucking wear it or don't.
It's very hot, you know.
Just that tongue hanging out.
Perhaps we just have him in a thong then.
I wonder if the Bond films will ever go all the way and actually have the F word.
They have. Skyfall. Judi Dench says it when they're talking about his obituary.
Yeah, he just dropped the
She
F-bomb.
says, "I fucked this up, haven't I?" or something like that.
Oh shit, yeah. I completely forgot about that.
It does jar in some things. I mean, they've started putting bad language and quite graphic violence in Star Trek on TV now, and it just doesn't fit.
Have you seen the Lower Decks one yet?
No, I'm done till Kurtzman's gone. I've done 2 seasons of Discovery before I finally came to the conclusion it's dreadful.
Ooh.
And Picard, well, I was happy to see him back, but that season was a slog.
I still haven't seen that.
You might like it, I don't know, but it doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know how far to chart its own path and how much to lean back on nostalgia. They put ridiculous violence in it. The pacing's all over the place. You know, they feel like they're saying grown up, saying fuck all the time, and it's like, well, I'm not sensitive to bad language. I use industrial amounts of it, but it just doesn't fit.
No.
And I just don't rate Alex Kurtzman. His plotting is fucking dreadful. You know, we've seen it in film after film, and all of his flaws. I know he's not writing all of it, but he is the showrunner, he's the head honcho of that universe now. And all of his flaws as a writer are showing up in the Star Trek shows I've seen. And I don't know what to do, because I don't want to be turned off from it entirely. But there's a bit of me that just thinks maybe I'm done till he's gone. And I've got no problem with Star Trek being different. I didn't want it to come back as like it was in the 90s. You've got to move on. I'm all right with that. But what they've brought it back at is dumb and lacking in any fucking vision whatsoever. I feel like I recognise that actor, but the one stood up with the paper there, but...
No, I don't know.
He's familiar to me. But this is now going on too long.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long chase scene.
Well, I think the problem is you got the cutaways with, the sheriff, haven't you?
Yeah, which isn't helping.
No, you got to shoehorn him in.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, what's he actually adding to this?
Comedy.
In inverted commas.
But bear in mind, it's Tom Mankiewicz.
Oh, yeah, there you go. How about that?
Yeah, because you kind of have the same sort of thing in Superman 2, don't you?
Yeah, which is a bit of a mismatch of different people's work, but yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a mismatch of stuff, but I don't really like his work on Bond anyway. I mean, Mankiewicz is, Roger Moore spoke very highly of him, and I always loved him in interviews and stuff. I thought Tom Mankiewicz was an extremely sort of personable sort of screen presence on various DVD extras and stuff down the years. Obviously, he's passed away now. He didn't live to a great age. I think he died in his 60s. He had cancer. But he was good. You can see it on the Superman extras. You can see it on various Bond extras. And he speaks intelligently about things. There's a logic to what he's trying to do, but I don't think his funny lines are that funny, because Christopher Wood sort of came in to do Spy Who Loved Me.
Of course, yeah.
And immediately the quality of the lines in that and Moonraker, whatever you think of Moonraker, the quality of the lines in both of those films is better.
Yeah, much better script. Yeah, I need to read his novelisation.
Yeah, I'm not interested in novelizations anymore. I understand why people want to watch them. James Bond Radio have been covering it for weeks now, and I'm just deleting those episodes as soon as they arrive. I don't care. Nothing against the show. They're a Bond podcast. Why wouldn't they cover that book? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not of interest to me.
I think they're just avoiding getting on to Die Another Day.
Yeah.
They're trying to pack it all the fillet. No.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing against any of their content. Do what interests you and what interests the fan base.
I must confess to falling off that wagon. I need to get back on it.
I've got no interest in hearing, and they're doing it over so many weeks as well. So I'm not interested.
Yeah, no, I think that's good because they really do a deep dive. They kind of go into it in detail. And
films in a book don't interest me. I've read novelizations in the past, and they're nearly always dreadful. And I hear the Christopher Wood one's quite good, but I've seen the film.
Yeah,
I don't need
do
to
need
be
to kind of
reading
do the read along with that. So
So I don't need it.
remember the one for Tomorrow Never Dies is quite interesting because you learn a bit more about Carver and Wylan and her I'll say how she came to be, but that sounds a bit silly. But like her backstory and things like that, for example. But you learn a bit more about the characters. But I think there was an interview for him about that one anyway, so I need to dig it out. But he can only kind of write so much. He didn't have that much creative freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of picking up the Gardner ones, which I don't know when I'll read now because I've sort of fallen off the reading bit with it. But I left it in a place I was comfortable with. But at some point, I'll read the Gardner books, and
some of those haven't really dated well. They are quite dated.
Well, I mean, if I'm not enjoying them after about 4, I won't bother. I'll give it a few. And I've
I mean, some are really good, but yeah, just
but I'm led to believe his earlier ones are better. But anyway, he did novelizations for License to Kill and Goldeneye, and I won't read those novelizations when I get them. I don't count them as the book as part of the book. And not only that, it's I don't know. It's like your wife and mistress bumping into each other. The books and films are different things.
Oh, right, that's interesting.
Well, the books and films are different things. I don't want the films to invade the book world and vice versa now, really.
Sure, I see what you mean.
Well, I say vice versa. Obviously, the early films are the books, but you know what I mean. Not now. I don't want the modern films retrofitted into books. I really don't. And I've no interest in, if the film can give me some flavour of what Bond's thinking, fine, but I don't need a book to describe it to me. Because in a Roger Moore novelisation, it'll be Roger Moore was thinking of sumptuous pussy constantly. Admittedly, he was in a newsagent's, but he can't help himself. This is getting on my tits now. He shouts everything.
Yeah, it's going on for a while, isn't it?
Well, the scene's too long, but he's constant shouting, and it's meant to be like comedy, and it's not.
Like Foghorn Leghorn.
I say, boy.
Meh, meh, meh.
It is Foghorn Leghorn.
It is a bit Foghorn Leghorn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Starring.
Starring, yeah. Chris's casting choices. We may as well say, because we're not going to do it, well, it's not going to happen, and we've lost that bit of recording, but Chris went on at length about how Kevin Spacey would have been perfect in the role.
Oh, God.
And I think it was about 3 weeks later or something he got done for being a fucking dunce.
It's never going to happen now.
I'm pretty sure it was a 2017 commentary, and that was the year he got caught out with that.
Oh dear.
So that didn't date very quick. That dated very badly, very quickly.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh well.
But I mean, he was a high quality actor, known to put on deep South accents, and that there was a complete logic in what he was saying.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, about 3 months. Within weeks, I think it was.
The news broke.
That all came out. Yeah.
Was it 3 weeks?
No, within weeks. I said I don't know that it was 3 weeks. It may have been a few months. Let me just look up. I think it was the autumn of 2017 that all came out. I think it was.
Yeah,
I've got to look
right
up. Got to look at when the commentary was. Make a commentary, so I'll find it. Doesn't really matter. It was much earlier that year. It was around February 2017 we did that one. So yeah, a bit earlier on. But yeah. God, this scene goes on forever.
It does.
I always forget this bit. I really do, because it's just like.
Well, it's the end bit, isn't it? It's the bit where he gets the guy in the jacket, in the tweed jacket.
Adam, it's called.
Adam.
I'm not very good with minor characters. I mean, you go onto a James Bond forum and they'll play guess the characters and stuff and come out with people I couldn't even fucking name. But I do that. Adam did stick. It is Adam. If this was I'm just thinking of Never Say Never Again. He's just thrown a cup of piss in his face or something.
Yeah.
See, would that really explode?
3, 2, 1.
There's the photographic evidence, Chris. What more do you need?
It's a big explosion.
Just happened. What annoys me is an actor gave his life for your entertainment there, and now you're questioning whether it even happened.
Shocking.
Positively. and there's lots of hair and people, and also we seem to think obesity is like a modern epidemic, but there's quite a lot of obesity knocking around in this film.
Are they wearing the same tie?
What? Him and
It looks like Felix and his colleague are wearing a similar tie.
perhaps they go shopping together. Perhaps
They
they've
share
got
the
his,
same.
perhaps they've got his and his towels as well.
They share the same tailor.
We've never seen Felix with a lady.
Oh, yeah, you never see
Well,
Mrs.
we
Marple,
have.
do you?
He married,
Well, apart from
but apart
Nice
from
to Go.
that,
What do you do?
I've just
Yeah, she was like coming on strong to Bond. That's on the wedding night.
Oops,
Yeah.
machine boy.
Chris was quite obsessed with the idea that Bond had been doing Della for quite some time.
I mean,
they
come
were
on.
quite similar.
She's definitely an ex.
Yeah,
For sure.
feels that way.
Classic line coming up.
Saw the secret.
Even that he massively overplays.
Oh, who's that? That is
He
the
filleted,
iconic line.
he filleted the bust of Sol. It'd be like a a strip club.
Still hasn't twigged. Oh, it's kind of got 007 on the back of them.
Oh, never seen that before.
I don't know what led them to do that. It's just that sort of nodding, winking, in-joke thing. The series thinks it does well and it doesn't. It's better when it avoids all that.
Merchandising. Bit of merch.
Oh, blimey. Some guys... they seem to be making love to that post. And the women are crossing themselves because it's shocking.
Prepping it in readiness. Ooh,
Oh, more back projection.
delayed ice cream headache.
There's an interesting aspect about doing like Bond with a supernatural element. But I feel like this kind of skirts along the issue, really, doesn't it?
Well, I'd be quite happy if Bond regenerated, Doctor Who style, to be honest.
I'd be very surprised.
So then when Della's like, oh, James, he'd be, that weren't me.
No, that was
that was some old fella with loads of hairspray in.
Buffon.
In Buffon, yes.
Tim did well in the Buffon stakes as well, to be honest.
It was the 80s.
I do think this is unimaginatively shot. I don't know if it's on a soundstage, but the establishing shot is identical every time.
Yeah, they tried to save money, perhaps.
Mm.
I don't know. Have either of you read Roger Moore's Live and Let Die diaries?
I seem to feel I have, because he talks about having a kidney stone during it.
Yeah, he's quite poorly. Bless him.
Yeah,
And I
he's
was
got
just
another
trying-
one. He got another one later in his run. He was obviously prone to them.
Just trying to remember if he had any stories, but I need to go back and reread it because I think I read it during the time of the event at Pinewood, for example. So I gave you a free copy. Yeah, I need to go back and reread it. So, but I remember it being quite obviously. There are some parts of it where you have to wince slightly, but it's the new version is prefaced with a slight warning. But yeah,
what's in it that's offensive?
No, it's just some little sort of like ways that some of the characters are sort of described, for example. But it's nothing like really offensive or anything like that.
I was going to say he doesn't strike me as much of a racist or anything.
No.
But what was I going to say?
It's just kind of like a modern preface, really. It's very much just kind of bear in mind that when you're reading this, it's very much of the time, and it was from something another. So yeah, there's nothing hugely expensive in power.
For adult situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2017.
I forget what I was going to say now. Don't matter. The Bond budgets stagnated for years. That was the problem. Like after kind of you only lived twice, they dropped it very slightly for.
I'll pick the rubber stick, thank you.
Yeah, the rubber one.
I'll have the rubber one. Brilliant. I think they dropped it a bit for Majesty's, but that could well be lower salary for leading man. And then they sort of went down to around, I think it was about 7 for years. They finally sort of doubled it for The Spy Who Loved Me, but this is like a 7 million film or something, I think.
That's cheap.
About 7 or 8 years after they were up around the 9 mark. And inflation rates in those eras were a lot higher than they are now. You know. I'm never convinced by her scared.
No.
No, why would you be?
She's not a particularly good actress.
Oh,
She's very pretty, but she's not a particularly good actress.
she was quite young, and this is obviously before she was Dr. Quinn.
I can't remember because I never watched Doctor. I thought if it had been called Doctor Quim, I'd have watched it.
I always like how
Wasn't there like a French and Saunders parody where it was spelled in a really weird way or something like that?
Doctor Quim, medicine pussy.
Like they couldn't pronounce her name or something.
I don't know.
One of their many TV and film parodies.
They did.
I always like how it kind of cuts between him like holding the snake by just right at the end of its head to like where it's like
so you can put tiny micro movements in. It just doesn't look remotely convincing.
Doesn't look quite real.
Although this might be the best Roger ever looked.
Like
it's got other ritual. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or something.
He brings out a hat.
A dusty hat.
That's about as good as Roger ever looked in the role dressed like that.
I was going to say, yeah, I think it looks amazing.
all black.
It looks very cool. I think whenever Bond wears black, you know he means business. Yeet, yeet, yeet.
I thought you were quoting Blackadder then. And Squirry the squirrel said, neat, neat, neat.
And lets you say neat, neat,
They all
neat.
went all for tea.
Because it makes funny
Now,
noises.
how much for a good hard shag?
Shack. Yeah. £1,000. What? No, I mean, well, maybe we can negotiate, throws it to Baldrick. So we got £6.
I've seen it in ages. Oh my god, classic series.
Episode 5 of Blackadder the Second. Basically, Baldrick does sell his arsehole for 6p. Like,
that's the fourth episode, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one with the bishop.
Yes, because the 5th is beer.
Yeah.
The 5th is the one where they get pissed. Oh my god, my ear must have fallen down. Oh, hang on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, Baby Eating Bishop of Bath and Wells, yes. Because the 3rd episode is Tom Baker. Yeah, 3rd episode's Tom Baker. As Redbeard, Captain Redbeard Rum.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot he's in that. He's fabulous.
What's the 2nd episode then? I know the first one's Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, it's Bob.
Second one is the sorry about the bag.
Yeah,
You
head.
had fun the bag.
Yeah, it's heads or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Bell's Head. What's the 3rd one called? It's Money, Beer, and Chains or something, but I can't remember what the 3rd one's called. It's all on BritBox, folks, if you're in the UK.
I shall have to break my Doctor Who and go and watch some classic Blackadder.
I always thought Blackadder the Second was the strongest series, actually, but I've seen it so many times now that, like, less so to me at the moment. I'd rather sit and watch 3 or something, but...
Yeah, I quite enjoy 3.
And also, Miranda Richardson is the definitive Queen Elizabeth I.
Oh gosh, yes, definitely. Hands down.
Hooray!
It's stunningly beautiful at that age.
Potato, there you are, that's...
Potato, that's it, because Walter Raleigh comes back.
That's
We're
the
eating
one.
them next.
That's the one.
Why are they all wearing red? Oh yeah, I suppose it's uniform. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's like a health spa, isn't it? Or like...
It doesn't. Yeah, and when you think of the uniforms of the guards in like Majesties, that's like a bit disappointing, to be honest.
I think these guys probably have like the coolest or trendiest outfits. Like they haven't got to wear like yellow boiler suits or like the most casual henchman outfits. They haven't got to wear boiler suits.
Yeah. She is a very beautiful woman, but when I think of Bond girls, she's not a standout to me, and I think it's because she's too young and a bit characterless. She's a bit like a modern Domino.
She's a bit kind of young and virginal.
Domino's kind of the same. Domino's extremely pretty, but very bland. Domino from Thunderball, not Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, I think she has more agency in Never Say Never Again. Bizarrely.
The cast are a little bit older as well. or she had that quality anyway.
Is it because it's Kim
Basinger?
Basinger?
I don't know. Basinger.
I could have pronounced her name.
I always tend to say Basinger because that's how it sort of entered pop culture, but I think it is pronounced Basinger.
That's how they pronounce it on The Simpsons.
Right, but that would be.
So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. I saw that episode a little while back. I've forgotten about it.
That was a classic episode.
Yeah. I wonder how their marriage is these days.
And if they'll do a reunion, get Ron Howard in, see what he says.
That's Felix. There was in a slightly sort of man at CNA pose. What? Sorry. What?
Man at CNA.
What did you just say?
Milk Tray Man.
Yeah, but oh right, okay.
Yeah, he was a little bit man at CNA.
Yeah, but you said something before that with what we were just talking about.
Oh no, it's fine. Goes into Bond villain mode. Very boring. Shotgun. Oh.
Yeah, I think he was only cast for this joke.
Yeah, literally. Oh.
And get off it, you twat.
Oh, if you go.
What? He had plenty of time to just leap off that.
He did.
Oh, I see what he did there. Brilliant. Is this a Ken Adam design? I'm not sure, because Ken Adam didn't do as many films as we think, but there's something... the only thing that gives me pause is the ceiling, but this has a bit of Dr. No about the layout.
No, you can kind of tell by the geometric.
That's like the Lewis Gilbert sets as well.
Does it have a monorail in it? Is it part of the monorail trilogy?
Yeah, they seem to have a monorail.
Yeah, well, he did do the monorail trilogy, didn't he? So.
Well, he made more or less the same film 3 fucking times.
Yeah, that's why it's the monorail trilogy. Remember, mono means one, and rail means rail.
I don't really dislike
monorail.
I don't really dislike any of his films
I've
wildly.
They're
not great.
Another place.
That was someone well known who did that voice as well. The monorail guy.
Oh, that was he died. It was
It was the guy who voiced the lawyer, Lana Hutz.
Yeah.
It was that guy, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's,
what? And Troy McClure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the same guy.
Phil Hartman.
Yeah, Phil Hartman.
Yeah, I think it was.
I didn't realise he did that one.
I think it was him.
What series it's in? It's in about season 5 or.
Yeah, it was quite early on. That was on TV recently as well.
I'm just looking for it now. Marge versus the Monorail. There we go.
That's a great song.
With Leonard Nimoy as guest.
As Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
Yeah, Lyle Landry, Phil Hartman. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
He was shot, wasn't he, by his wife?
Yeah.
Who had substance abuse issues and all sorts.
Yeah, that was a mystery for years as well, wasn't it? Like, was he dead? Wasn't he?
Well, they found his body with bullets.
Yeah.
In. He was shot while he was asleep.
Obviously, up until that point, it was a mystery.
Wow. They retired the characters like immediately.
Yeah, they do.
Because he was meant to voice Zach Brannigan.
Yeah.
And actually, Billy West does it, and it's basically Phil Hartman.
It's basically Phil Hartman impression. So.
It's more or less what would have been done.
Billy West pretty much did all of the characters.
I heard that they originally thought of getting actually William Shatner to do the voice of Zach Brannigan, but I think that would have been a different Zach Brannigan.
Would have been a step too far.
Yeah, and I'm not completely sure William Shatner's in on the joke completely for himself. I think he knows there's a certain kitsch value to him, but I'm still not quite sure how seriously he does or doesn't take himself.
But Zach Brand's a great character, though.
Zach Brannigan is awesome, particularly the obsession with velour.
He's a great character.
I just love the fact he just mispronounces everything.
Yeah.
Champagne.
Champagne? Or is it Champale? I forget now. Oh no, I think Champale was the way March did it once. Champagne, yeah. Yeah, but he is obviously meant to be William
It's good.
Shatner, more or less.
Kiff, I've just made him with a lady for the men.
I'm not that fussed about Suits Futurama. I'd quite happily just have like all of his scenes, and that would do me.
But him and the hyper chicken, that
Yeah.
the hyper chicken lawyer, that's pretty gold as well.
Yeah. Just gonna see if I've still got. I looked him up earlier, but then sort of lost the thread of what I was doing. Let me have a look. Yaphet. So I still got Yaphet. Yes, I do. Yaphet F. Koto is an actor.
Oh.
He has. He claims to be the real one. He links off to a real website and stuff like that. But there's no tick or anything, and you don't often see modern pictures of him. There's a lot of Christianity stuff in there, and he claims to be younger than he is. He's got the maximum 5,000 friends as well.
He is hugely popular.
Including Brian, Philip Stevenson. He's got a lot of our. We've got 20 mutual friends with him. I don't know if you're one of them. I don't know if you've got him or not.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, you're not one of them.
Can we just comment
No,
on
I'm
how
not.
batshit his death is here?
It looks
It's crazy,
dreadful
isn't it?
as well.
It really is crazy.
It's one of those that if you can't do it, don't do it sort of thing. It didn't
I'll add him
work.
as a friend, see what happens. I'll send him a request.
Yeah.
He might go no.
I'll find him in my friend list, but see, well, he won't be able to. He's got the maximum 5,000 at the moment. You need to wait for one or two to drop away.
Oh, sorry.
Or you can send a request. Maybe you can action it.
I'll send a request, see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. Claims to be the real Yaphet Koto, and there's a circumstantial feel it might be, but a little bit of doubt there as well. Now, I always remembered this as like a half-decent train fight, and when I watch it again, all of Roger's train fights are shit.
Oh. I mean, do you always tend to sense of the woman always getting like locked away in some capacity?
Yeah, similar thing happens in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes, it does. But in The Spy Who Loved Me, basically Jaws has just got him by the neck, and that's it. The whole fucking fight.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's just like they it's an early sign here. They don't really know what to do with Roger because it's not his skill set, it's not his strength, but you've got to have Bond fighting things. It's not embarrassingly bad, but it's just notable that when you watch any other Bond, they are literally all better at action than he is. All of them. They're all better at hand-to-hand fights, and there's a lot less. Oof! Ooh. Can you imagine if he was just a really incompetent villain and just electrocuted himself now doing that? That was it. Lights went off and he's just dead.
Bond's on the wires. Oh, bedtime. I mean, that's the reality, though, isn't it? You would just give yourself electroshock.
I think so. I don't know how it works. Perhaps he's wearing flip-flops or something.
How do you get a lock to go back as well?
I don't know. Maybe it's a magnet. I don't know. I have no idea. Wait a minute. You're not James Bond.
This is meant to be, like, scary.
Yeah. And he's like, hey...
He's still wearing shades.
I won't lead into action. Yeah, I know. Imagine if he just, like... You know... wasn't able to fight now and was hitting like the wall and shit because he can't see a fucking thing.
But again, I think like the final fight with the henchman in the last scene, it's the same with Wind and Kit. It's like, why are they going after Bond now? Like,
why would they care?
Your boss,
their paymaster's gone.
It's like
Winton Kids.
Yeah, it's a bit silly.
Winton Kids is embarrassing because it's so ill thought through. It's like they're a bomb on a fucking boat. You're going to sink the boat and kill yourself, you dumb cunt.
Bomb disagrees. Yeah, it's all contrived.
Yeah, we got a few like that. Knick-knack.
Yeah, that doesn't kind of really... It's not very well thought through.
Oddjob fucking kills himself for his master. I know that's before Goldfinger dies, but
Shocking, positively shocking.
Yeah, but that you get. He's just that particular one has like blind loyalty, but again, that's only established in that scene because you're like, okay, well, he must be serious then because he's willing to die for him. But
grooming suitcase.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that in-joke because it's so many years old. Solitaire pounding. Blimey. Sorry, I've got subtitles on.
Pounding?
Yep.
No, I've got the subs on as well.
Who's in there with her?
Who's in there with her, yeah. Opens it and there's like a wine waiter. Brosnan there. Wasn't meant to be. See what he did there? And he's just sat on the back of the train finding it hilarious. Quite an abrupt ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does end pretty much like drunk.
And we finish with the song from the opening.
Oh, it is very good.
It's a good way to end it. It does make you think, have we seen the last of Baron Sadamy? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we have.
The uncomfortable truth about Saltzman and Broccoli is at this stage they were alternating.
Yeah.
You look at the run of films, Saltzman did all the good ones. He did Majesties, and then like Broccoli comes in and leads on Diamonds, which is dreadful. Saltzman comes back to do this, and then Broccoli leads on the next one, which is dreadful. I do wonder if, for all his abrasiveness, actually Saltzman was the more talented of the two of them. But obviously the next film will be Saltzman's last, and his name hasn't been written out. I mean, he's still remembered, but it is the Broccoli family now.
Yeah, it's very much in that camp.
Gun next, which we've already commentated on, so if you want to hear our thoughts on like readers' wives and ill thought out bullet plot devices, it is there. And that was the 4K restoration we were just watching.
I think it actually kind of looked quite good. I mean, obviously there are some parts where it's going to fall down. But yeah,
Bowie restorations were good. They were best on the earliest film. I do get the impression they made more effort with the 60s ones. But I think film stock was better in the 60s. I just think they used lusher film stock.
Yeah, I think it's to do with the quality of the film stock, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then.
Right.
That's Live and Let Die done. Quite a long, well, not a super long film, but it's a couple of hours. And with the preamble and that, we probably ought to sign off. Social media. You can find me at the Pasty Kid 1976 on Twitter.
You can find me at Simtrance on Twitter. You can also find all the old episodes on simtrance.co.uk.
And on Twitter, you can find us at Expect Us to Talk. And if you can find us wherever you like to listen to us, YouTube, Podbean, Podbay, Stitcher, definitely do Expect Us to Talk, and you can find us on there. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're going to have a guest for the next few weeks because we're going to move on to a series that a certain Mr. Brigden is extraordinarily fond of.
Yes, looking forward to meeting Charlie Brigden on our new series.
Which means, Becca?
Do you expect to talk or return with Planet of the Apes? I was going to try and do a quote, but I decided not to, so sorry everybody.
Well, there's only one thing I can say for that performance, Becca, and it's damn you! Damn you! Good night, folks.
I'm Jimmy Chimpanzee from Japan Age Chimpanzee.